way back from Vermont, we stopped in Putney at the Green Mountain Spinnery. We're here today with Dave Ritchie, who's one of the owners of the Green Mountain Spinnery. So welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
So tell us some of the history of the Green Mountain Spinnery.
1981 is our opening date. Before that, we were consulting, and there were four of us. We were trying to figure out how to fit into the economy, and two of our four were lifetime weavers and knitters. So they kept asking the question, why do I see sheep in the fields but I'm not knitting with that wool?
Oh, okay.
That was the question that we eventually tried to answer.
Okay. So your background, did you have any experience with spinning, braiding yarn?
Those two people
They
knew
were lifetime.
and still do know yarn so well. I knew nothing. I was working in human services. But I knew them, in particular Claire. This is Claire Wilson, Libby Mills, and Diana Wally. I was married to Diana Wally.
Okay.
And Claire I knew through her husband, and we together attended a series of talks. Well, we had a committee ourselves about how to find a better path in what we were doing in Vermont.
Okay.
And Claire is the one who kept saying, I want to have wool that comes from here. She was complaining because she was getting it from Europe. So
Yes.
we kept kind of coming back to that.
Yes.
And finally we said, well, maybe we should try and start something.
Wow. By the way, what is that on your head?
Yes, it's good to ask. It's Halloween, which is
That's
why
true.
I have that on my
Yes.
head. But this was knit for me. I guess I should show you, or show someone.
Oh, it's a hat inside.
It's knit.
Oh.
I could try wearing it the other way, but it's knit, and then each of these fibers, which happen to be Cotswold sheep,
Okay.
are preserved as they are, just knit right in.
Woven in.
So
Okay.
I'm just being
That's
crazy to
awesome.
wear it, but
It's a good look on you.
yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Okay, so when did this spinnery open?
Yeah, so we opened in 1981. That's a bunch of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long standing history. So what exactly do you do here?
Well, my initial role became finding the fiber. We didn't really have that kind of expertise at all, and I didn't have it either, but I had to learn. So I went out to the farms. At that time, we had to go find it, of course, and the sheep breeders in the vicinity were usually sending it to a wool pool and didn't really pay much attention. It wasn't really anything that they made any kind of serious money, or no one makes serious money anyway with sheep. But certainly they weren't gaining a lot from their wool.
Okay.
And we wanted to see if we could do something, so I would talk them into selling some to us at more than the wool pool price.
Okay.
And then we
This
came
is
back here.
Whirlpool, it's not Whirlpool.
Not Whirlpool.
Sounds like Whirlpool, but it's Wool Pool.
Wool pool.
Okay.
Yeah. And it still happens. Wool pools still happen. People sometimes save the reject wool that they have. You know, they can get it to go to a wool pool, and some big processor can buy it and use it for mattress ticking or something like that.
Oh, okay. So they get much less for it, obviously.
They get less for it then. Yeah.
Okay. So this is, almost 40 years later, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have the internet back in those days, so you couldn't look up, sheep.
Processing or something, or
Yes, or sheep. Not growers. What's the sheep
Yeah.
herders?
sheep herders. Yeah. No, we
couldn't
had
do
to.
that.
Well, there was Vermont and New Hampshire and the other states have had for years and years their own sheep organizations.
Okay.
So we got in touch with them, and that helped us tremendously. And then there was another mill, Harrisville Designs, which is in New Hampshire, which was already in operation. They didn't use local wool, but they were in operation. So we visited them, and one of their people, bless his heart, said that he would help us find machinery. So then he traveled and helped us find the very machines that we have here.
Okay, so you take in the wool, and you take sheep's wool and alpaca and other things?
Yeah, we started with just sheep's wool,
Okay.
but we've added other fiber like alpaca and mohair and cotton and tencel and silk sometimes, and many. Always natural.
Can you tell me what tinsel is?
Oh yeah, and that's the furthest from natural in a way, but it's not because it's from trees.
Okay.
And so they take the pulp and they extrude it.
All right, so you take it in and you process it. What do you do in the processing?
We take it in, and first thing we have to do is sort it. This wool, for example, came from out west actually, and it's not too dirty, but still we're going to have to pay attention to whether or not it has too much chaff and whether or not we have to throw any out.
So this is right off of the sheep.
That's off the sheep.
That's really interesting.
And then we go to wash it, because
Okay.
we have to, and we had to learn how to wash it.
Mm-hmm.
We knew there were some commercial scours in New England at that time, and so we took some wool to them, but we also started with 3 tubs, like stationary tubs, and we got some old ringers because we knew you can't agitate wool.
Right?
We started lifting it through the ringers.
Wow.
And then turning the ringers and lifting it the other way back through, because it took more than one time through. And that was the beginning of our washing.
What kind of a soap do you use?
Very good question. And when we started, we used a different soap than we use now. We wanted to do something biodegradable.
Mm-hmm.
We now use something that's not petroleum, and we came to that because we felt that our yarns still smelled like petroleum when they got to the end of the line, and that's really the opposite of what we're trying to do. We're saying wear
Right.
wool.
Mm-hmm.
So we got our soap improved, really.
Okay.
It's kind of how we started that.
Okay, so you wash it and dry it, I assume,
We
and
dry
then what
it.
happens?
We have a commercial dryer because we spin it. After
Okay.
we've washed it, we got an old washing spinner in Bellas Falls, just up the road, and installed that, and now we spin it so that we can put it in a commercial dryer.
Oh,
And yes, now you're at the stage of dry. Maybe there's some here, but right there. So then we pick it. We have to run it through the picker, which is an opening machine.
okay.
And we had that machine. We had bought it. We learned this from the old industry that was still somewhat here, and is now even less so because so many of the mills are gone.
Yeah.
But we pick it and then we run it in a card, which is our longest machine, 41 feet long.
Oh,
And that gets us our roving. From the roving we go to the spinning. We have to steam the yarn to set the twist.
okay.
We can spin again if we want a yarn to be plied.
Okay.
And we skein or cone it.
Okay. Now, you do leave some the natural colors?
Yes, we love the natural colors, so of course there you are, right? This is our pride.
It's beautiful.
Yes. And you never can expect the same thing for you as the knitter. You have to know that this time the fleece was a little more gray than the last time. The sheep themselves, the very same sheep changes color over time, so even if you were spinning your own wool, which we take a lot of pride in to bring you. You still can have sheep, and then you can bring us the wool, and we'll spin it for you.
That's awesome. The custom, I
Yeah,
think that's great.
yeah.
So when you do have it dyed, do you do that here?
We don't do it here. We've done a little bit of painting, we call it, skein painting, but outside of that, it's all done. That's one thing we did not take on. We decided.
Okay. All right. So you said that you have organic yarns.
Yes,
So
we
what
do.
does that
Yeah.
entail?
Well, it starts with the pasture,
Okay.
and the person raising it. That person has to work very hard to meet those requirements of not feeding commercial grains, not using anything chemical.
Yeah.
They have to have healthy sheep, so it's not as if they should abandon the health of their sheep in order to be organic. That's a misunderstanding.
Right. Right.
But there is a lot of work involved in having your pasture be completely organic. So many people choose not to do it, but we all need it because we know what the environment is suffering from.
Right. So, I mean, I eat organic as much as
Yeah.
possible, grass-fed beef, free-range chickens, and all that. But why should
good.
someone worry about the wool that they're wearing being organic?
Well, because they want the land to be healthy. Really, that's what I would say to begin with. And we keep learning more about how the land can actually improve and rejuvenate. So not only would you want to have it free of chemicals, but you'd also want it to be building carbon. And we now know, and this is not something people really knew before, we know that the land is actually a place to control global warming, because if you can build carbon in your land, then you're taking it down to where it should be.
Ah.
And that has to do with how well you can absorb water. So if you're in a dry situation, again, you can do things with sheep, for example, to have your land be more fertile and therefore be able to take the rain without it all eroding and have a higher carbon intake.
Okay, so one of the big reasons for wearing organic wool would be to support that process of
To support all of
farming
that,
the land
yeah,
organically.
sort of a more deep caring and rejuvenating of the land.
Okay, so if someone has sweaters that are made commercially, they're not organic, they've had been processed with different chemicals, are those things that could actually be toxic to wear?
There is a chance of that. I mean, I think it's very slight.
Okay.
We did have a chemically sensitive person who came here, and they could not work with all of our yarns. And
Okay.
I learned from her which of those were better in her case for her sensitivity. I felt like she was the canary in the coal mine.
Oh,
so
wow.
I felt really lucky that she came.
Yeah.
And for example, we use we have green spun yarns, and therefore our spinning oil has no petroleum in it,
Okay.
and that made a difference for her.
Okay.
So those things count, but really if you're knitting a sweater and you're using 100% natural fibers, you've come a long way on helping the earth.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, so
Great. So you have the shop here, you do the spinning, you've explained the whole process of how you process the yarn,
Yeah.
and then you sell some here as well.
we definitely do. That shop that you came in, which is quite small, is all of our yarn, every one of our colors is in that shop somehow. And over the many years as we've gotten more colors, I keep wondering, how can we fit it all in this shop? But somehow we still do.
And you sell it where else? Do you wholesale it to yarn shops?
We wholesale it to yarn shops, and we retail, mail order, and online.
Oh, good.
So it's definitely available. And then we also go to shows. So right now this is kind of show season, and we've just had like 4 shows in a row since since the end of September.
Wow, that's excellent.
Very busy.
So do your yarns go all over the U.S.?
Yeah. Sometimes a few times. I mean, we have a few retail customers overseas, but mostly, yes, the U.S. Canada.
Great.
And remember,
Great.
or I don't know if you need to remember, but I like to emphasize that our own yarns is half of what we do. The other is your yarns. I say yours because it could be yours.
Okay.
If you raise the animals.
Yes, yes.
And we love it. They then get the value added for themselves, and they might dye their yarn so they can make the colors they want.
Okay.
And they make products, blankets, sweaters.
Yes. That's really neat. I
Yeah.
like that idea a lot. Is there anything else that you think we should know about your business here?
Well, maybe that we are a small business, and we kind of started with this idea of small is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's counter the kind of industrial agriculture model,
Mm-hmm.
but we love it. We feel we're here for some wonderful reason,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And no one's really getting rich. We don't
Yeah.
have a big CEO that's making a lot of money. We are also worker owned, I should add,
Okay.
and have been since the beginning. So people come here with a chance to also be owners.
Oh, that's wonderful. And has your shop here been able to help sheep farmers maybe stay in business? Or
Yeah, I mean, anyone who's a sheep farmer, we love connecting with them. And they have a big job. It's, again, so often a labor of love. Mm-hmm. And many of them, though, have found niches. And for example, at the Rhinebeck Sheep and Wool Festival, where we see many of our customers,
Mm-hmm.
it's a huge event. And so many people are selling their yarns there, and at least they're getting paid for having something to do with agriculture that's maybe
Yes.
meaningful.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that idea. I think small business and small farms are so important.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly feel that way, and hopefully there are people who want to do this sort of thing. It's wonderful to go to like the grazing conferences or the organic conference, the winter conference in Vermont we go to, and you see so many young people full of enthusiasm.
Great. That's excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, David, for talking
Thank
to
you,
us.
Beth.
And we would love to have a tour and
Yep.
see what you do.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it's soaking. Here, I'll turn it on just for a second. So the wool is moved from there through here. No agitation. Phase. That's using that soap that I said, which is non-petroleum.
Okay.
It's specially made for us at this point. And then these are rinse phases. And if you came at the right moment, you'd see it coming out into here. We could come back and look if you're really came out. Yeah. So this is all the same. This is a custom lot. So their wool is soaking there. That is a baby doll sheep. Pretty sure.
What kind?
Let me make sure I'm right about that. Well, I think it's baby doll. Still has a lot of chaff in it. It's a funny name for a sheep.
Yeah.
But this is from someone that used to be in Maine. Anyway, I know where the sheep came from. The people moved, but the sheep sheep were living in Maine. A customer of ours for a long time. Gets brought over here and run through the picker. They're working on something else. Let me see.
warm?
This is nice and warm. Halfway point where they've cleaned it up right now, but when it comes out, there's like a blanket coming out, gathered, goes up and over the ladder, and there it is.
Ah,
That is 50% tencel from trees.
okay.
It's one of our tencel lots called sterling.
Okay.
Watch your step. So it continues. It continues. People like to spin that. Some people just get their wool put into that form.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now here's an important junction right here where you see what we call the web.
Okay.
And it's going to get transformed into roving from this point. So that's why I just point to it. It's nicely carded and ready to be transformed into roving for spinning.
Okay.
So when you walk through, you'll see. Bingo.
Oh my goodness. So it comes out this way.
Yep.
And this is the tinsel?
It's a 50% tencel, 50% fine wool.
Ah.
Some of it that dark wool that we were looking at,
Yeah.
and some of it the white.
Okay.
No no strength because there's no twist.
Okay, so it's... Oh, all right.
We need to. You would want to knit with that.
All right.
Yep. Right down through here and down the bottom. It's natural dark, so it's really hard to see it.
Yeah. Is this the twisting? Are they twisting it here?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This is between here and here is where it happens. Yeah. A little traveler, and so we're done with that spool, but there's a little traveler just like that on here. You don't see it because it's going so fast, and so the yarn is twisting between here and the traveler. So we have to set the twist. We have to steam it
Okay.
in order to hold the twist that we just put in it.
Okay.
This is for a custom customer. Hopefully going to be something really beautiful.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where the steaming happens, but it's very hard to see because we just came back with the show.
What does the steaming do?
Set the twist.
It sets the twist.
Hang on this. Let's see, what do we got? Tracy's so ahead of the game, I hardly have any to show you. Itself. Remember how before I showed it? So this has been steamed.
It's been steamed?
Yeah.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah.
How many ply is that?
This is a one ply.
It's a one ply?
Yeah.
But it's still twisted?
It's still twisted, just one direction.
Okay.
For a two ply, so if you want to get a two ply, you put a couple bobbins up here, or 3 or 4, however many plies you're going to do,
Okay.
and then we pull it down through and we put it on a bobbin here.
Okay.
We're twisting it the other direction, so this will get fatter with
Okay.
more plies.
All right.
Is 25% of her black sheep with 75% of her white sheep.
Wow.
This is beautiful to dye, by the way.
That is beautiful.
Yeah. I mean,
Just like it
it's
is.
beautiful itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the natural.
Yeah.
But
I do too.
it takes the dye in a really beautiful kind of a darker tone.
Yeah.
And the like that, and then I'll run it for just a second. We thread the bobbin through here, wind it on here,
Okay.
and
to make the skein.
to make the skein.
Okay. Oh.
So otherwise, they're like this. So the question about color,
Yeah.
the color was already in the wool, in the what we call stock dyeing. So we had the wool dyed, just washed and then dyed, and then we started blending colors to get our colors here. This has some white in it, but it also has some bright orange and maybe some gold.
So you blended it here. You didn't dye it here.
Right,
Oh, all right.
yeah.
And these are your buttons and things.
Our buttons and all of our needles, and then the models of many, many patterns that we... And you can see by the number that
Okay.
so by sections, the mountain mohair section, the one we call weekend wool.
Weekend wool. Okay.
There's Vermont Organic and Maine Organic.
Oh. Neat. So you
Uh,
keep to separate in terms of where the
Yep, we keep them separate.
sheep came from.
Or the blend. For example, you said you love the mohair, so this is all these are 30% mohair and 70%